should have been something else in my life. But anyway, let me update you. I have many slides I want to share with you. Well, a number of young children, so there's a few slides I'm going to move very quickly through because it deals with some medicals and some blood I don't want the children to see. Okay. But thank you for what you do. And I always point out where my work is located. It's really all over India, but you can see predominantly it's in northeast India. You see the mainland of India, and then you say, well, where are you? And you go far over to the northeast. And there's 7 states called the 7 sister states, and those are together there. There's one small isthmus called West Bengal that connects them together. And we're surrounded, I'm about 75 miles from the Chinese border. I can see Myanmar, or Burma, from the mustard seed village. We're not too far from Bangladesh, which is the poorest country on earth now, they now estimate. So we're in a good location as far as the needs for orphans, but also in the work of evangelism. So you can see the work that we have going on in these areas. We'll go through these. Before we get there, let me spend a few minutes talking about the growing persecution worldwide, but predominantly in India right now. A lot of people, news doesn't cover the persecution of Christians. We just tend to ignore it. The latest statistics you can find is 2016, but in 2016, there were 97,000 known martyrs to the cause of Christ worldwide. 97,000 people who believed in Jesus Christ in some form or fashion was killed in 2016. That may be just a hem of the garment. These are the ones we can document. Most of these, by the way, were in Nigeria. Over 61,000 were killed just in the country of Nigeria in 2016 as Islamic people was trying to kill anyone who's a Christian in the country of Nigeria. And second, of course, is in the Middle East. We have a lot of people who are killed. In India now, there's a great increase of Christians dying. We estimate between 5 and 10 Christians die every week in India. Now, because of the persecution coming upon us, primarily by the government of India itself, the Modi government, the BJP party, which is much anti-Christian, fully Hindu in every step of the way. So what I've listed here is some of the things that we have going on. With the BJP government, they started a company called Hindustan, which means return to India. And he's sort of like Donald Trump on America first. He's India first. And he wants everyone to return to India. And to return to India, you must return to India's religion, which is Hinduism. So he's actually giving checks or money or favoritism to any Hindu who's a Christian if they reconvert to Hinduism, and if they turn their back on Christianity. And that's beginning to happen a lot, because the Hindu villages now are going to the homes of the Hindu Christians and saying, unless you reconvert to Hindu, then we're going to burn your house down, or we're going to drive you out of the village, or they'll do some kind of punishment to them. Even now, like on a Sunday, and Sunday's already over with, it's Monday morning in India, but yesterday there have been many places that Christians would have gone to church, and when they got there, Hindus would be standing in front of the building, barring their entry to worship. And that's being encouraged by the federal government. Wherever you can, stop the Christians from worshiping. So it's not just something hidden or something being done by a few terrorist groups, but now it's being pushed by India's government, all the way up to the prime minister who is leading this charge against Christianity. They've come up with a number of new rules there. You see in the middle, that's hurting my orphan home. In the last 2 or 3 months, I've had up to 12 of my children taken away from me. Hopefully none of them have been adopted here. But now I'm being threatened with as many as 60 more of them being taken away from me. And what they're saying is that they don't want Christian orphanages raising children to be Christians. And they know that we teach the Bible. And so they just recently made me bring all my 80 boys. I have 80 boys. Now, we've grown by 40 kids since the last time I've been here, because it's hard for me to say no to an orphan child. And they made me bring all the boys down on the bus, on the school bus we have. And then they interviewed every one of them, looked at all my files, and then they made me divide them into a list. Which one came from a Hindu family background? Which one came from, quote, a Christian family background? Of course, I try to work the list to my favor as much as I could and be right about it. But we had 12 on the list, I believe, that we had to say they were Hindu. And they immediately said, well, these 12 Hindus cannot stay in your Christian orphanage. And so that's a problem that I'm facing right now. And then there's 2 new laws that just started. One is that if an orphan child becomes an orphan, he must stay in the tribal area in which he's orphaned. If he's a Lisu, he must stay with a Lisu. Karbi must stay with a Karbi. If you're Bihari, you stay with a Bihari. You cannot go to another area. And that really hurts me. Probably 60% of my children come from many places in India. We cover at least 7 or 8 states, even a couple of countries like Burma. I have some children which we hide from the Indian government. It's from Burma itself. And so that's a great persecution that's being pushed upon us from that. And so please pray for that, because that's our biggest need right now, is to pray that the government will change. Elections coming up again in 2019. But what I'm hearing through the people I'm talking to there, that Modi is so popular because of his India First program and his idea of Hinduism, that he may get 5 more years. The Prime Minister serves 5 years. If he gets 5 more years in there, I don't know what's going to happen to the church, whether we go underground, or what will happen to the orphan homes, and things like that. At present, the Psalm Welfare Department is threatening to take over the orphan homes, which I won't permit. I will close them down before I allow the Psalm government to come in and take over these children, because they will throw out the Bible, throw out all kinds of things. So this is something that's developed really in the last 6 months to a year. All this forced persecution coming upon Christians all over India. And like I say, probably between 5 and 10 are dying weekly throughout all of India. In southern India, we have the high caste system. They're being killed by the higher caste and other rules. Where I'm at, they're agitating the fast-growing ISIS group. ISIS has moved into my area, and they've absorbed Al-Qaeda, which has been in my area for a long time. Now they're radicalizing the ISIS against foreigners. And, you know, we Americans, we're really loved by the ISIS group, so we have to be careful with that. My wife is going to go with me. I leave in 2 days, heading back to India. But hopefully she was going to travel with me, but it's just too dangerous. She won't go until things calm down. And I had a number of Americans plan to come over the next year, and I've had to stop that until we get this straightened out. So please pray that we can get things worked out. One of the new laws that's really hurting us is the conversion law. If you convert a Hindu, let's say I've converted a Hindu and studied with him and baptized him into Christ, he goes back to his Hindu village, and the Hindus find out that he's become a Christian. You know, they can go to him and say, look, you can't live in our village, we'll burn your house down, we'll kill your family, we'll kill you. You reconvert to Hinduism, and you tell the government that you were forced to be baptized. And if he will say that publicly, then I go to prison 10 years. No parole, no appeal. And it's not me that I'm worried about, it's my Indian preachers that I'm worried about, because they're the ones who do most of the preaching. And my American citizenship gives me a lot of protection in India. So that's happening a lot. There are a lot of Christian preachers in India now that's going to prison because these Hindus say, oh, you forced me to be baptized just to protect their own life. And I can understand why they would do that, but it's a problem. So please pray for that. Let me share our new English reading school that we've been working on for 2 years. We're excited about our new school. Our kids are so excited about the new school that we have. And we began the school building it about 2 years ago and so forth. This is the front of the school, and of course we use work elephants a lot, and these elephants are used in the jungle to clear the jungles. They can pick up a teak tree that might run from this wall to this wall. They can just pick it up, and it's strong. It's amazing how powerful and strong an elephant is. I would encourage you never to ride one. I had to ride one time. It was a bad experience. Here's our school coming together. You can see it's a large school. When it's completed with the top floor, we'll be able to have 500 students in the school. And right now we have about 200 orphans and plus 4 kids in the community that we allow to come. And if I can tuition another 200, that will pay for the school. Pay the teachers, the administrators, take care of the school. It will become totally Indian school, self-sufficient, which is what I want to happen in the work in India. So you can see the school coming together, very well built, all out of cement with very heavy, thick tin roof on it that's guaranteed for many, many years. You can see the fire extinguisher systems and so forth. And here's a picture from the road. We're building the wall that must surround the school. That's an Indian law that every school must be walled in. And so we're doing that right now and so forth. Here I am climbing the bamboo ladder, getting on the floor to call my wife because it's hard to get the signal better. Up there I might be lucky to get 1 bar, you know, or 2 or 3 minutes or something. So it's a job to be able to call back home. Unless I drive maybe 10 miles away, then I can get a cell signal. But there, it's a school, and that's Rainbow Village, almost impossible. As we built the school, we built a lot of our own furniture. I say we hired the local sawmill to cut the wood, and then they have a lot of people who are able to work with wood with their hands. We teach our boys mysteries, which is vocational skills like carpentry, cement work, electrical, plumbing. So a lot of our older boys are able to help us build this school. And so that's very, very good. So you see us cutting the wood and making the framing for the windows of the school. Here we're doing mortise and tenon. This is done by hand. We pretty well use machines now, at least I do, and I have a wood shop, but how long has it been, Cindy? 12 years since I've made anything in my wood shop. So it's for sale if anybody's interested. And here they have a turning lathe here. It's an old one, but it works very well. And so we're turning legs, and this becomes, these are our desks for our teachers that we're building. And these are our tables that goes in our library. These are our computer desks that we're building. And these are already completed, of course. These little desks and chairs we made for first and second grade. So 2 children will sit at each one of these. And that's the way they study. The top will lift up so they can hold their pencils and papers. So it's a simple desk, but the kids love them. And we're able to order these for our preschool and kindergartens. And these children know these type of desks, okay? And so our kids are very excited. They've never seen a desk like this. These came from Goa, so shipped them 2,000 miles to bring them to us. And then 160 of these desks are class 3 up through class 12. Brother Kurt working with me, he's from Huachi, Florida, Mexico Beach, Florida. But he's a retired chemical engineer who now comes 2 months a year and works with me, loves the children, very good with them. And he's developed the Bible program that we use in our school, which, by the way, the Hindu welfare department came in a month ago and said, you can't have this Bible program. And we said, well, no, it's moral science. We're teaching morals to our children, you know. It's just sad that we can't say what we need to say and we need to do. This is our library. It's probably one of the better libraries in all 7 of the states as far as the school library. And of course, you see on the right, those are just old song books that were sent here. All these books came from America. People who sent donations to me. And if you ever have any books you want to send to me, just send them, and I'll send them to India. I have a shipment coming up in February, so I'll ship maybe 10 large crates by boat to India. So any children's books or school books, English is what we use, an English medium school. Here's our librarian desk, and all the books you see there are Braille books, because we now have, I think, 12 blind children, somewhere in that neighborhood, maybe 14. And we have a lot of Braille material for these kids, a lot of storybooks in Braille, the Bible in Braille. It takes 28 volumes to have a Bible in Braille. It takes a lot of it. But the kids are learning very well. So you can see the librarian, our librarian Grace, she does a great job. Here's our first day of school. This would have been like April, I think 19th, so just not too long ago we began the school here. Kids are in their new uniforms. In India, you have to have a uniform on to go to school, whether it's public or private, they require a uniform. And the kids like to wear them. Here in the United States, it's hard to get kids to keep it on right. And these kids enjoy their uniforms. And so here we are the first day, and we're raising the Indian flag and singing the Indian national anthem. And we try to teach patriotism. August 14th, I leave on August 14th, but that's Independence Day in India. And we'll take that day off and do an Indian celebration with the kids, trying to teach them to be patriotic to their country, hopefully to a better country than we have at this moment. These are some of our children that you support, okay? I believe here this is Iwajika and Bolini. She just continued to grow. Bolini, I've got to take for ear surgery. I took her back in February. They said she would go totally deaf. I didn't get her to a very specialized hospital in Chennai, a place called Christian Galore Hospital, and have double ear surgeries on her ear. So I will probably do that sometime in October. And I've already had 2 ear surgeries on her, but this doctor examined me, so I don't know who that doctor was, but he did a terrible job on this child. But anyway, I'll take her to one of the best in the country. She's a sweet girl. Dinesh, Afu, he's just growing up with dark skin there. Just again, they all appear in these pictures here. You go through. This is class 1. This little girl in the front, that's Wisa. She's 3 years old. She's not in class 1. She tried for a uniform. She wants to go out all the other kids. So we make all these uniforms locally with the local people with a sewing machine. They can turn out clothing very quickly. And so we made her a little uniform. So she goes to school. We put her in preschool, and she's still too young for preschool. She's probably about this tall. And this is class 2. You can see how nice the uniforms, the ties and the belts have our logos on them that we designed and developed. This is class 3. It's all the way up to class 9 here, I think, now. This is one of our larger classes, class 5 here. Class 6. 7, we have good teachers. All our teachers either have BA or BS. Some has a master's program. And so we're very good to have these teachers. This is class 8. This teacher on the right, she is just a powerful artist. There's nothing she can't draw or paint in any medium. She's teaching our girls particularly, but even the boys, much artistic skills. We have several good artists in the school. This is our class 9, our older girls. I do have 2 in class 10 and 1 in class 11. And I only go through class 9 right now. Right now, the government's also trying to prevent my school from getting certification, so that's another long story. So here you see some of the pictures, and the rooms haven't been painted yet. They're all been painted brightly now since these pictures were taken. There's some pictures of the children here in class. Here's those little desks, and sitting 2 each at the desk. Shooting a bow here. We just got her out of the hospital with malaria. Some of the little girls in kindergarten, I think they are maybe preschool. The little boy on the far left, you may notice his left eye is gone. He stuck a piece of wood in it just before I got him. And so he cannot see with this eye, but he can see good with his left eye. He's a good boy. The children. Here they are checking books out of the library. It just makes me feel good to see this, because these are our books that we've sent over there. Many of the books your children will be reading, they have over there. And I'm trying to get them, and the older kids, into Mark Twain and Huckleberry Finn and Anne of Green Gables. I never read that, by the way. Probably did. I'm a voracious reader growing up. But anyway, I'm glad to see these kids loving to read. That's an education in itself. This is our visually impaired classroom. We have all these are blind children. Most of these are new. I've picked up most of these children since the beginning of this year through a Catholic called, the work started by Mother Teresa many years ago. Sisters of Charity has a big place in Guwahati, which is the capital of the state of Assam. They found out about me. They'd come to me and asked me could I really help them with these blind children, because they have no way to really teach them. And so I've taken them, and now they're either Mustard Seed or Rainbow Village. And they're great kids. So this is Alina. She's our principal, holds a master's in administration, and just a very smart woman, and able to run the school very well. Kids having a lunch break. Usually lunch break you get a slice of bread and maybe a little bit of juice and stuff out there, or sometimes just water. But they like sliced bread. No peanut butter, no jam. But they like it. Printer room, and here's the kids getting ready. This is their, they have 2 uniforms, a dress uniform. This is a casual uniform, which they like to wear. And that's based on the calendar, which they would wear which uniform. This is our new generator that the congregation in Hopewell, West Virginia purchased from me maybe 2 months ago. We already have it purchased and set up now. And we're so glad, because we have maybe 4 hours of electricity a day where I'm at up there with Rainbow, And it's just hard to run a school, and it's hard to run orphan homes and so forth. But now with the generator, we can run, as long as we can afford the generator, which uses 4 liters of diesel an hour. So we're limited to maybe 4 hours with this. If we get 4 hours, that's 8 hours of electricity today. If we sleep 8 hours, anyway, you see how that works out. By the way, I have AC. I'm the only one who has AC in my room up there. And I'm laying there every night looking at it saying, well, I wish I had electricity. It'd be best not to have it. These are some of the workers I have. He in the upper left, him and his family just so good. And it's he that will actually become the president of the NGO, the nonprofit organization that we're required to have in India. And when I leave, he will take over all this work, and it becomes an Indian work, he and his family, and some of these other brothers who are here. This is Brother Click at the Mustard Seed Village, and our Mustard Seed Village is in transition. If you got my last newsletter, in fact, we have an emergency situation again because of the government to get our children moved from Assam very quickly. But in 2008, when we began the orphan home, this is a little bit more than the first group. We had 16 to start with. There's about 20 children. It's amazing how we've changed over the last 8 years or 10 years now. And all these kids have grown up. These little girls on the front, most of them are married. A couple of them have children. Kids grow up quickly. These are some of the boys. You can add about another 20 to this picture, and you would probably get the right number, right about 80. Here they are in our Devo that we have every evening at the Mustard Seed Village. Bible Bowl competition. We do a book of the Bible every month, and then they compete between their cottages and between their class ages, and eventually between the boys and the girls to see who knows that book of the Bible well. And they receive a trophy to move from cottage to cottage, and they receive some prizes for that. We're on our third time through the Bible now. In a number of years, we're on our third trip through. So they learn an awful lot of Bible. Boys playing just some volleyball here. Here I'm tilling, I think, getting ready to plant some corn and maize out there at the mustard seed village. Here's our rice planting time at the mustard seed village. This is lease land, you know. I have it through the year 2026. I'm not sure whether I'll keep it that long because as I build this new orphanage, and everything will shift up that way. And that's what we want. But while we're there, we grow rice, mainly for the elephants, but we get some of it. You know, the elephant leaves a little bit for us. But here they are planting the rice, and come about October, the rice will turn golden brown, be ready to take the rice in, and that's when the elephants come, you know. And we try to scare the elephants off with firecrackers and, you know, taking our pots and pans out of the kitchen and banging them. You know, sometimes they leave and sometimes they don't. If they don't, we get out of the way and they just enjoy the rice. They're bigger than we are. Boys watering from the creek that runs behind our property. We have 4 months of dry season. You might get 1 or 2 rains in 4 months. Now right now we're in the monsoon season, so it rains every day, almost all day long. But during the dry season, we have to water from this creek. Here the boys picked a lot of green beans and they're just bringing them up. I'm taking a picture of them. We grow a lot of mustard seed village, but most of it we grow at Rainbow. This is some Americans who came over in February, Kathy Langdon, and 4 of them came. This is their 3rd trip over. They used to be missionaries in Japan and Scotland. And so they come over and do a ladies' day for me, vacation Bible school for me, and they do a very good job. They were scheduled hopefully this coming February, but again, I canceled that until we see things calm down there for a while. But it's good to have them here. This is our ladies' day. We had about 100 Hindu women come that was invited, and we took our bus out, picked them up, and about 5 of these were converted within 2 or 3 weeks of this meeting. So we're very glad about that. The guys, we did the cooking for the ladies' day. We didn't realize what a job that was going to be. One of the Americans, I have him peeling potatoes. He's an elder. Elders are good at peeling potatoes up there. You see me, I'm supervising as I sit there. So, your boys getting their haircut. We don't take them to the barber shop. Take 80 boys to the barber shop. It's 25 cents for a haircut. That's what, 20 bucks, something like that. And so we cut it ourselves. We only cut it one way short. And the older boys cut the younger boys, and then they cut each other. But it saves a little money, and the boys, they don't have hairstyles like we're concerned with here. Here I am with some of the boys. Front 2 on my right and left is Jitapan and Sivasaran, both blind boys. Jitapan on the left with a light green shirt. I will take him in about 3 weeks from now to have eye surgery and try to remove the birth cataracts. I think he might be able to see, at least be able to see well enough to walk by himself and stuff. And so I'm very anxious to see what will happen there. So keep him in your prayers as well. Then we might get some. Boys, they love to get presents from their home. The parents over here, so I hope that you can send some every once in a while. If you get it to me, I can carry it over. I think I have, 4 suitcases packed now. It'll be a job getting them in there, over there. Here's the girls at Rainbow. This is that big building that holds 100 girls and 3 families, and we all live together like we're living in a big lodge in the Smoky Mountains, and so we enjoy it. Here's our family that oversees the work. PG and his family. He's now brought under me as assistant director, and his sister-in-law and her sister Acha, and she now runs Rainbow Village. She just graduated from the nursing school. We sent her 4 years to nursing school, and she's the first Lisa girl to ever graduate nursing school. So, and she was second in her class, and so we're very proud of her. Now she runs all the Rainbow Village, takes care of 200 kids when they get sick. She helps me with midwife. We have 12 women waiting for me to begin the first Monday in October. We'll begin midwife training. And now she'll assist me in that, and hopefully one day or 2 she'll be able to take that over. I was hoping that she would learn to deliver babies in the hospital. She said, no. Now her degree is GMN, General Nursing and Midwifery. Where's the midwifery at? She said, well, all we got to do is watch the doctor deliver the baby. We cut one umbilical cord. And so she said, I'm not ready to deliver them yet. Hopefully after another be with me for a while, she'll be good. She's very good at what she does. Here's our Rainbow girls, and again, you could add another 20 to this picture. And our girls are always divided into color groups. About their color groups, they know when they study, they know the chores they do from day to day. And these kids, they begin about 4 a.m. in the morning. It ends at 9 p.m. at night. and almost every hour is busy. They have very little free time, maybe an hour in a day if they're lucky. And then on the weekend, they have a little bit more on Saturday and a little bit on Sunday afternoon. But most of the time, they're very much involved in chores, and studying, and going to school, and so forth. So you see the pink group and the blue group. There's one little boy there in the blue group. That's NG's son, their outfit. And but by their color groups, it's listed what chores they would do. It changes week to week. For example, the yellow group may be slopping the pigs for the week, feeding the pigs for a week. The other ones may be gathering eggs from the hen house. We have about 340 laying hens right now, and so that's a job. Yeah. And then the other ones may be plucking tea. We're plucking about 200 pounds of tea every week down in the tree garden. And so others may be working in the garden, weeding or whatever might be going on. There's always work for them to do. Some may be involved in cleaning the toilets, as they call them, or what chores we might have. This is our new blind black group, BBG out there. And they're just precious girls. And I'm so glad to have them. And again, I went down and got the first front four about April 20th or something like that. A white group. And by their groups, you know what chores they do. They're just taking some pictures of them. And they begin their morning about 5:30 with exercise, do a lot of calisthenics and so forth. And then we end with a good bit of running. And so they begin their day. And it's so important if you get these children. Most of them come with worms and all kinds of skin diseases, all kinds of health problems. Many of them have been deprived of food, and but after about a year with feeding them and caring for them and getting them into exercise, these kids are very healthy kids. You just can see the sickness just go down as they stay with us. It's just a good thing to see. And they're just great kids. These are some of the blind children there in my cottage, and we're feeding them some rice and stuff. Sometimes we'll bring them in and give them a little special attention. They do great. This is our leach-in house that we built maybe 3 or 4 years ago. It looks very old, but it's built that way. And it will hold, a lone house, hold many people in it. But what we're trying to do is take old men and women off the street, and there are many of them, okay? And if their mind is good, and if they're healthy, okay, then we ask them to come and live with us, and we'll take care of them, and they become grandma and grandpa to the children. And so this is one of our grandpas here, and his name was Krishna, and we changed it to John Mark. John Mark's name was a young man, right? He's a good fellow. He loves the kids. He does an awful lot with them. There's some pictures. Here they are studying, and they study by their color tables. If they're the red group, they're at the red table. So again, everything's sort of organized. And, here's the blue group at the blue table. They just taking these pictures. I left sometime in Malaysia in the middle, got a hold of my iPad. I didn't know it when I got home. There's 200 or 300 pictures on it. So I put a few of them up there. But this Buddha making a love sign around a coconut tree. We just planted 100-something coconut trees. Malaysia and Laki and so forth. This is Ruth and Monica. Monica's almost 19 now. Okay, she's just about finished. She's actually through class 10. And she's doing what we call open school, sort of like a GED, so it's more intense. And she's actually teaching for me in preschool, helping in the preschool classroom, so she's drawing a salary. So she's making transition to adulthood. And she's just a good young girl. Little girl in the swings. This is Desangi, one of our older girls teach the younger children in devos and so forth. And one of the great evangelistic works we do in India is an Antioch program so good, and all the things we do in the preaching schools. But these children, they're our future. And I'd say maybe half, well, I won't say half, I'd say maybe out of these girls, maybe 35 have been baptized. Boys, maybe 25 have been baptized, and they study the Bible and know it so well. And so I know in the next generation, the years to come, these children are going to make such a difference for the work of the church. Here we are getting ready for Devo. The children sit on little mats in the front. And the older ones have benches that they sit on. Growing in our garden, we have about 16 acres under cultivation. We're growing, I'd say, close to 85–90% of all our food we now grow. And that's moving towards self-sufficiency where I want to get them. We can't grow enough rice. It's impossible. I couldn't grow enough rice for one little Indian girl. They eat so much. But everything else we can grow. This is cabbage growing up here. And when we grow it in abundance because we feed Mustard Seed Village, Rainbow Village. We may sell some in the marketplace. I was trying tell them about sauerkraut, but they've never heard of sauerkraut. So just make some, we had so much left over, they kept saying, what are we gonna do with it? We don't have refrigeration, and they've never had the canning system, like canning in jars. I used to do a lot of that. That doesn't exist in India. They don't even know what a canning jar looks like, or a canner. So, and they don't have cellars that you can put things in the jungle. It's too hot. So it's hard to preserve the food. What they usually do is dry things out. But I don't know what you can do with dried cabbage. But we grow a lot of cabbage and a lot of food, a lot of corn. We grow a lot of these, I call them gourds, but they love to eat them, you know, cut them up over their rice. We just grow a lot of food. Here's maize or corn growing. And you see the Rainbow Village way off. That's how much land we have, and it moves all the way around the village. And so we do a lot of growing of our food. This tractor is very helpful to us. It's a Mahindra tractor, which is, by the way, the #1 selling tractor in America today is the Indian Mahindra tractor. But for our credit, that was the old International Harvester. You remember the old International Harvester? That patent was sold and picked up by India. They basically are making the American tractor and calling it, you know, their tractor. So if you buy one in America, it still has most of them American design. So it's a great tractor. Here the girls are plucking teeth. I said a moment ago, we pluck about 200, 250 pounds on a Saturday. We usually pluck for Saturday. All the children pluck that's been trained to pluck. And then we sell it to a local drying factory down the road, so much per kg. And that money goes into an account that just sits there and earns a little bit of interest. And then when I'm not there anymore or something, they'll have that money to fall back on. This is a flower garden using Walmart seeds. I think I mentioned last time I was here that this time of year is a good time to be buying all these leftover seeds from the seed stores, because I can take every one I can get. Because everything will grow over there. Whatever I take over there will grow. And sometimes they're amazed at what they grow, because they've never seen a white scallop squash. And they say, what is this thing? And I said, it's edible, eat it. Here's some of our chickens. We have one rule we teach the chicken: when you quit laying eggs, you go into the stew pot. So they try very hard to lay their eggs. So you know, we get many color eggs, and we're able to give about 3 eggs a week to the boys and 3 eggs a week to the girls. So it's about 160, 200 eggs that we're able to get, and even have some left over for the adults to have. These are our pigs. We have 3 of these setups now. Now this will hold probably 16 to 20 pigs, not counting piglets. And our goal is to have about 80 to 90 pigs at any one time. About 40 of them, we want to sell them at 8 weeks to 12 weeks of age in the marketplace. We can sell them for 3,000 rupees. That's like $25 to $30, okay? It's a lot of money in India. And that money goes in taking care of these kids. A lot of them, we let them grow up and become marriage pigs. Because if you're a woman, you get married, you gotta have a pig to get married. Because that's what you eat at your marriage feast. You take a pig and you kill it and you cook it and you eat it. And, but a 250-pound pig, I can sell it for $300. That's a lot of money needed. So we want to have about 20 marriage pigs growing at a time and so forth. We don't let them know what their end will be. Try not to get too friendly with them. Here's one of my little girls. When I say little, she's probably 20 years old now. She's been with me a long time, a blind. This is how they wash their clothes, just with a bucket outside under a spigot. And then they wash them by hand, and then they put them out to dry. This is Riki showing a picture of her adopted parents up in, I think in Virginia somewhere. She's a good little girl. She's probably 16 now, 17. These are 2 new orphans. When they come to me, these children are scared to death. You can imagine your grandma bringing them like this grandmother brought these good children, and she walks away from them, and she won't ever see them again. I don't think they realize when she leaves that this is it, but it is it. But they're scared to death, you know. And but within a week or 2, they will acclimate, and they will never want to leave Rainbow Village. You know, they're just so tied into everything that we do. I remember that night, these 2 little girls and their sisters, I took them to Rainbow and put them in one of the bamboo beds. And the next morning, I got up at 4 a.m. and looked for them. They were not in the bed. I said, these little girls are running away. And they're too little to run away. But finally, I looked under the bed, and here they were on the bed, just holding each other as tight as they could, you know, because they were scared. But now they're happy, they're adopted, and they're good little girls. These are the 4 blind girls I picked up a Guwahati back in April, fully blind. 2 of them were found in a garbage dump in Bihar by the Catholics, and the other 2, I don't know too much of their background. One on the far left, her name is Shana, and she has severe epilepsy, so she's on 2 or 3 medications a day. And because of her medication, she has a hard time learning, so she has a learning disability. She's such a happy child. She reminds me so much of a Down syndrome child. And I'm so glad to have them with us. They may be with us all their life, but I think the last one just finally got adopted this past Sunday. Linsel. This woman was there when I picked up the little girls, and the Catholic nuns asked me, "Can you take this woman with you?" And I said, "What's her background?" But when she was like 5 or 6 years old, her mother sold her for $10 to be a servant. It happens all the time. You know, a servant girl, you can pay $10 or $20 and then you have one. Okay, that's illegal, but it happens all the time. And she was sold as a little girl, and of course, as she grew up and developed, began to become a young woman, the man began to bother her in the house. And then he began to rape her many times. And then he got her pregnant with this child. And then he said, "We'll kill this child as soon as it's born." Well, she ran. She ran to the Catholic place there, and so they kept her, let her have the baby. And so they didn't know what to do with her. So I took her. And now she cooks for me. She's a great cook. And she's very, very happy. And then this is her being baptized about 2 months ago. So this is a good story. These are Bihar orphans. I went to pick them up back in March, I think it was. And I was so excited about getting them. When I got there, the Indian government wouldn't let me get them because of this new law that they cannot leave the state in which they are orphans in. And these children have nowhere to go. You see how destitute and poor. Bihar is the poorest state in India. 89 million people live in that one state. And this is actually an advocate, what we call a lawyer, who's trying to find a way to get these kids taken care of. And she was so excited about them coming, but when I got there and we tried to get a removal list and move them from the state, it wasn't going to happen. So I don't know what's happening to these kids, and I'm going to try to find a way to get them to me. I have quite a few Bihari kids that I picked up over, I think I have maybe 15 Bihari kids I picked up over the last 7 or 8 years. Pray for that. This is a little orphan home in Esther Place. You know I'm about 5 minutes now. Sean.
Okay.
And this is our orphan home that I'm very excited about, mainly because this is almost self-supporting already. When I began it, it almost was self-supporting. We started out with just this little bitty rental house and with about 5 or 6 little girls. But now we've just switched over to a flat in the main city of Guntur, which is the capital of the state there. And we can put 25 girls in there, and that's our goal. We're up to 11 now. We're going to have 25 orphan girls in here, hopefully within the year, and so forth. Abraham and Priya oversees the work. Both of them are medical doctors, fully self-supporting in their own right. She works for the government, which is what every Indian wants to do. And so they make good money, so they pay all their own salary, and they give a good bit of their money to Esther's place. And whatever else, and I'll take care of. I think about $300 or $400 a month is all I have to send to run that whole orphan home. And that's really good, because these children are in an area that's strongly hindered, you know, and so it's good to be able to bring them out and teach them about Christ. Here they are in the new places, some of the girls. That's the woman who takes care of them and cooks for them. Some of the pictures that they have, they always eat on the floor, and we never do that on them.
Brother, I don't think I have the heart to ever tell you you got 5 minutes left.
Oh, don't tell me.
You just keep on.
Okay.
But I mean, we're probably about 7. So.
Okay, well, I'll move on quickly. But you see the children here. You know, I'm out fishing. I usually fish for men. I try to fish for fish. I didn't get a bite. The Lord's punishing me. I even wearing my Georgia clothes down there because I'm a Georgia boy. But that didn't even help. Here we are in Antioch, where we're teaching men and husband and wives how to work in the big cities, and we'll eventually send them to big cities to begin to work. And under the Antioch program, we want them to have a self-supporting work in 5 years. I will fully support them for 5 years in every way. But in the 5 years, American sports finished. Okay? But they're in the cities of at least 2 million people, or even higher, 8 million, 12 million. And if they're trained, there's no reason as easily it is to convert people in India to grow a large congregation in a large city in that short of time. We're beginning our 4th year in the Antioch program. I'm seeing that happen in 3 of our places. Right now we have 7 Antioch churches, and so it's going good. So I'll have to move quickly. This is Brother Daniel. He has a master's degree and 2 other degrees in chemistry. But he was a Hindu when we converted him. This is his family. I named every one of those little babies, I guess, when they were born. But he does a great work in Darjeeling. If you ever drink Darjeeling tea, it's a famous tea. From his place, you can see Mount Everest in the morning. You know, it's a beautiful place. It's called the what's that flower? What's the flower? Orchid capital of the world. Orchids grow wild all over this place. It's a beautiful place. So here's just lots of baptism in the Antioch program. The baptism is not the problem. The baptism is maturing the saint to be able to stand on his own feet. And if the American lead, I will keep the church growing. That's our great desire to get them doing that. So you can see all the work and the teachings that go on from house to house. This is a new village being built right from Rainbow. These 10,000 mission tribe moved in here illegally. I figured the army would shoot them. 2 years ago, another tribe came in, 2,000 of them, and the army killed every one of them. But this time they let them stay. And for some reason, maybe they had something worked out. But you see how primitive they are in their house. We've already baptized one family there on the left, and the guy on the far left, I've got him working there. We hope to have our first church in this mission tribe established. If you haven't had fried rats, you miss food in your life. Y'all don't try this at home, okay? And this mini baptism's okay. Here I am, I'm in Sri Lanka. This is a pit viper, okay? But this pit viper's had his fangs pulled out. At least they told me that's why. Later, when I got through having these pictures made, in fact, he struck my Nike cap. You know, he didn't like it. But anyway, I wasn't worried about it. It didn't have any fangs. But when I was leaving, my translator said, you know, those fangs grow back in about 30 days. I said, well, if I knew that, I would have been a long way from there. So I won't do that ever again. Okay? These are the gods overlooking India. The new government was building. These are 20 and 30 stories tall. Much money to build these cement gods. They're putting them over all the major cities, trying to get people to come back and worship these stone gods and turn away from Jesus Christ. My time is up. I know, I'm sorry. Medical program, through that, we reach a lot of people. And so I go through this little boy I just found, and we saved his life, put him in the hospital, and he's one of my orphan boys. Windstorm damage, this woman's badly damaged. To work with. Lots of amputtees and infections and problems. This woman, suicide by kerosene happens all the time. You get mad at your husband, instead of throwing kerosene on him, you put it on yourself and you light yourself and you burn yourself up. It happens all the time. I keep trying to tell him, put it on your husband, not on yourself. No, I don't tell him that. I'm trying to save her life. I don't know whether she's going to survive, but she's burnt badly from her neck clean down. I don't want you to see that picture. One of my little boys with a broken arm. Okay, we have a lot of those. Well, he was a guy that we converted maybe 8 years ago. He was a preacher in the Believers Church. He had 10 congregations under him. He converted to Christ. He brought all his 10 congregations to churches of Christ. He just died there right when this picture, right after this picture was taken. I miss him, but I know he's gone home. He's a good brother. Giving polio drops to my girls at Rainbow Village. Polio is still a problem in India. There's many problems there. This girl, 18 years old, she has elephantitis. She was bit by a tsetse fly when she was probably 2-3 months, and she began to swell in that right leg. It'll always be that way. There's no cure for it. It'll cause her to have a brief life on this earth, but she's already a Christian, so that's a good thing. These children, on the left, they're living. On the right, they passed away. This is measles. You know, we take measles for granted. In India, it wipes them out. I can get to them and get them into a hospital. If I'm there to have IV and antibiotics, no problem. But it's hard to get into these jungle villages. This is our emergency now. Let's try to build a new muscle village before they take my boys away from me. And so we're working very hard on that. And just pray for that. If you can help in any way, then any dollar would be helpful in this matter. Okay? And we do have a number of children to be adopted. We do need to teach these children about Jesus Christ. That's the only hope that they have. All these children here are available for adoption. Some of them have been adopted since I put this up. The little boy there, he's available for adoption. A lot of these children are. Okay. Let me use this for invitation tonight. Okay, it's my favorite, one of my favorite verses in the Bible here. It's just so comforting, as Paul writes in the book of Romans, you know, about what we have in Jesus Christ. Remember Romans 7, he talked about, you know, so often the nature of sin. And into Romans 7, he talked about his own life and the problems of his own life. And then in Romans 8, he talks about what we have in Christ. Beginning in verse 31, he says, what then shall we say to these things? If God is for us, who can be against us? He who did not spare his own son, but gave him up for us all, how will he not also with him graciously give us all things? Who shall bring any charge against God's elect? It is God who justifies. Who is to condemn? Christ Jesus is the one who died. More than that, who was raised, who is at the right hand of God, who indeed is interceding for us. Who shall separate us from the love of Christ? Shall tribulation or distress, our persecution, our famine, our nakedness, our danger, our swords. And as it is written, for your sake we are being killed all the day long, and we are regarded as sheep to be slaughtered. Knowing all these things, we're more than conquerors through him who loved us. For I'm sure that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor rulers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor powers, nor height, nor depth, nor anything else in all creation will be able to separate us from the love of God in Christ Jesus our Lord. I hope we realize, thinking about Paul writing these words, because he suffered more than anyone I can think about in the Bible besides Jesus Christ himself. And he understands what these words mean. And we've talked about persecution in India on the rise, but persecution is rising in America very strongly against the Lord's church and against Christianity in general throughout this country. And the things that happens in India could be happening here in a year or 2 years and so forth. So, but we need to know that it doesn't matter. We're conquerors through Jesus. Jesus says, if I've given my life for you and I've made it possible through my grace, then you already have won the battle. There's a number of slides. I'll share just 3 of them with you. This is one I like. I can't win this fight. You ever felt that way? Well, I do sometimes. Looking at problems in India, I say, Lord, what's going on here? But I have to remember, God says, I've already won this fight for you. We just have to have faith. And sometimes we don't understand God's ways because his ways are higher than our ways. But sometimes through persecution and trials and distress, we grow. Our faith grows. And we can be what God wants us to be. I love this one too. My God is so big and so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do. And that's absolutely the truth. God can do anything for you. Anything. And whatever problems we might have, let's always remember that. And I love this. We sing a song based on this. The battle belongs to the Lord, for Samuel 17. Remember tonight, brothers and sisters, whatever battles we have, God has fought them for us. He's won them through Jesus Christ. The victory is his and the victory is ours if we're faithful to the Son of God. So tonight, as a means of invitation, think about your life and remember what Jesus has done and is doing for you, even at this very moment, as he fights our battles for us. And while we sometimes think, wow, it's so hard on me right now, remember, God is saying, persevere, because I'm there for you. So tonight, if you're not a Christian, you've studied and you have made that decision in your heart tonight that I want to be a Christian, you're willing to follow God's word and to change your life according to the pattern of the Word of God, and to confess the name of Christ